So, in this module I will discuss that hydroxide based multifunctional composites. I would emphasize the term multifunctional because it does not only have a biocompatibility property, but also it has certain functional properties like piezoelectric properties, then electrical conductivity property, and together with better toughness, fracture toughness property in these composites. Now, two classes of materials that we have developed in our laboratory. As I said that this is a series of case studies. I will be presenting one after other just to illustrate that opportunities for development of the hydroxide based new composites with better physical as well as biocompatibility properties. So, the first of this one we will be discussing about the hydroxide barium titanate based composites. So, now why multifunctional properties is important in the natural bone structure. This slide essentially describes you the hierarchical structure of the bone. What you see that bone is the composite of the hydroxyapatite and collagen. So, this is a characteristic tropocollagen, that is collagen triple helix pattern, and these collagen bundles are oriented in this particular manner, and then you have that hydroxyapatite crystals and these hydroxyapatite nanocrystals, where the nanocrystals typical dimension is 70 nanometer in the long axis and 1 nanometer is the thickness. So, this is the typical platelet shaped nanocrystals. These are embedded in hydrocollagen bundles, and then these together you will form some osteon structure. This osteon structure is 100 to 500 micrometer diameter. So, from this diameter you can, from this dimension like 300 nanometer and also this 70 nanometer hydroxide crystals, then you can see that what is the huge number of collagen fibril bundles are there, microfibrillous bundle is there in the osteon structure, and this individual osteon structure is one of the structure unit of the natural bone as has been shown here. Now, because of the presence of the collagen in the bone has certain piezoelectric properties and the conductivity properties. Hydroxyapatite is insulate in nature, but hydroxyapatite actually contributes to the mineral content of the bone. That means hydroxide, presence of hydroxide gives the bone the elastic stiffness property as well as strength property as well as further physical properties. Now, electricity in the bone, typically in a biological cell it has the transmembrane potential, and transmembrane potential is fairly high because of the smaller thickness of the cell membrane, and this transmembrane potential is of the order of 10 to the 5 volt per centimeter. And there are several ions which I have mentioned before, that cells itself has sodium potassium channel as well as calcium channels. Now, because of the imbalance in the content of the ions in the extracellular region with respect to the intracellular region, this also creates the electricity in the bone. Now, these mechanical properties of the hydroxyapatite, which has been emphasized in the last module while discussing the hydroxide titanium composites. So, let me repeat that typically bone material should have a fracture toughness more high, better than 2 MPa square root meter, and this should be used the single edge V-notch beam technique, that is the reliable fracture toughness. Piezoelectric strain coefficient, it is not that much demanding like functional applications, it should be in the range of 0.7 picocoulomb per Newton, and it should have a biocompatibility both in vitro and in vivo and physical. And then other property that is required for bone replacement materials is a slow osseointegration like 4 to 6 weeks, that is a very slow osseointegration with most of the natural bone materials. And second one, natural bone is piezoelectric and pyroelectric in nature. So, pyroelectric coefficient also has been mentioned in this slide. So, therefore, the definition therefore, motivation is that you need to have a faster and long term osseointegration of synthetic implant materials. So, in this context what I will show you next 20 minutes or so, the spark plasma sintering results of this related development of this hydroxide barium titanate composites. So, what are the issues in this barium titanate hydroxide based composite material? First thing is that if you need to optimize the functional properties, you must retain barium titanate in the microstructure. Second one is that you should prevent the dissociation of hydroxyapatite, because hydroxyapatite can dissociate to tricalcium phosphate and various other phases. So, those dissociation needs to be prevented. So, A, hydroxyapatite dissociation, B, retention of barium titanate, and this is very difficult to be accomplished, which is very easier to be said. So, keeping that in mind, these major two challenges, what we have done, we have used spark plasma sintering as a process to consolidate hydroxide barium titanate composites and to retain them in the microstructure. And what we have done, we have tailored the spark plasma sintering, which is not a very easy thing to adopt, particularly in case of reactive system like hydroxide barium titanate. So, what we have done, we have first heated these materials up to 670 degrees Celsius and adopted a multi-stage spark plasma sintering route. So, 670 degrees Celsius we adopted, then we have seen we have held the sample at 850 degrees Celsius, followed by 950 degrees Celsius for 0 minute, and then followed by cooling to room temperature. So, why this kind of sintering strategy was adopted? Because essentially you are not giving the system enough time to react. So, if you hold them if you do not hold them at 950 degrees Celsius, you simply push it to 950 and cool it down. So, thereby you are essentially restricting any sintering reactions between hydroxyapatite and barium titanate, and that is what has been done here. And then second thing that we have mentioned is that there is two stage heating is also possible, like one is the 670 degrees Celsius and 850 degrees Celsius, followed by cooling to room temperature. So, this is the spark plasma sintering that I have mentioned to you before while discussing that ceramic processing. Now, we have done this hydroxide barium titanate composite at different temperature, and after that when we have done this X-ray diffraction, we have seen some minute amount of beta tricalcium phosphate and alpha tricalcium phosphate as well as calcium titanate. So, it does show small detectable amount of these phases, and then we trying to understand that how these detectable formation of this detectable amount of calcium titanate and other phases can be explained. So, therefore, we have proposed these kind of thermodynamic reactions where hydroxyapatite can dissociate to calcium phosphate and calcium phosphate can react with barium titanate to form calcium phosphate and calcium titanate and barium oxide, and then calcium phosphate also can react with barium titanate. What the beauty of this reaction, you can see that it forms Ba10PO4 whole 6 OH whole 2. That means barium will simply replace the calcium and it forms this one, and then as a result calcium also will replace in barium titanate to form this calcium titanate. So, this is kind of a exchange reaction kind of reaction that can potentially take place during sintering. Now, this second phase formation also has been observed in this TEM transmission electron microscopy observation using the SADP pattern analysis. Now, what you see in the SADP pattern analysis, you see that the hydroxyapatite is 1 and barium titanate is second phase, and this 1 and second phase you can see that they are essentially formed, and then that can be confirmed using that select area diffraction pattern analysis. Now, all these functional properties that we have measured, that includes dielectric constant, electrical conductivity, piezoelectric strength like D33 values and pyroelectric coefficient. What we have observed here, that depending on the barium titanate content in the hydroxyapatite matrix, this piezoelectric strain coefficient can go up to 0.7 values, and this 0.7 is close to that of the 30% of barium titanate. But we have got that few composition 20%, 40%, 60%, and this 0.7 piezoelectric strain coefficient is somewhere in the middle. The same is true for that pyroelectric strain coefficient and conductivity, but whatever you can see here, that bone like conductivity or piezoelectric strain coefficient is indeed possible to be attained in this hydroxide barium titanate system with as low as 30 to 40% of barium titanate, that you can achieve very comfortably that bone mimicking properties. So, this is the major take home message from this slide. Now, other things that we have measured as part of the physical property measurements like Vickers hardness and fracture toughness of these materials, and hardness and fracture toughness, as you see that this shows very normal moderate values. First of all, fracture toughness was measured here using indentation toughness, not ACVNB, and it does not really show very high indentation toughness like 1 to 1.1 MPa square root meter, whereas Vickers hardness is around 6.5 gigapascal Vickers hardness. Now, in terms of the compressive strength of these materials can go up to 138 megapascal, which is quite a respectable number in the ceramics community. Flexural strength is also more than 125 megapascal. Fracture toughness ACVNB is low, it is less than 1 MPa square root meter. In an earlier module, I have mentioned that fracture toughness of hydroxide composite can be significantly enhanced to close to 5 MPa square root meter when one can add 10% of titanium. So, with such a small volume percent of titanium addition, fracture toughness can go almost 5 times higher than what we have achieved here in case of hydroxide titanium composite. So, physical property wise, certainly this material is not at the very high level, but certainly what we see here that compressive strength, flexural strength, this kind of strength combination is quite moderately higher than even other materials, not only hydroxide titanium. So, this work is published in Journal of American Ceramic Society in 2013, and one can see that what is the typical more details of this whatever I have discussed now. Now, dielectric and paralytic properties are also published in another journal which is Ferroelectrics, and this is again in collaboration with some US group. Okay. Now, one of the things that we have been pursuing in our group for quite some time is electrical field stimulated culture experiments. Now, what you notice here that these materials which are piezoelectric in nature, here you can apply this, you can grow the cells and you can apply electric field stimulation for a certain amount of time, 5 minutes or so, and up to 48 hours in culture conditions, and then you can see that what is the difference in the cell proliferation or cell viability or cell growth pattern with respect to unstimulated cells like those which do not receive this electrical stimulation. Typical experimental setup, you can see that is the A12 plate, and in this A12 plate hydroxyapatite based materials are placed in individual culture plate, and then you can put the culture medium, and then you can put some you can put some wire, and through this wire then you can give this electrical stimulation. Now, when it is kind of when these cells are being cultured up to at different field strength conditions like 0.5 and 1 volt per centimeter, and you can see at 0.5 and 1 volt per centimeter it shows statistically significantly higher number of cells. So, essentially it shows that the cell growth goes to a maximum at a very narrow window of 0.5 to 1 volt both for osteogenic cells and fibroblast cells, that is the L929 cells. And then when it is grown without electric field and with electric field, it also shows that hydroxide barium titanate, it shows that higher cell density with respect to unstimulated cells like which do not receive any electrical stimulation. Okay. Now, one of the things that is a valid question in the cell biology field, that when you give this electrical stimulation and when you grow these cells for different time point in culture like 3 days, 5 days and 7 days. So, whether these after that cells will receive this stimulation, their growth pattern changes because they are given certain biophysical stimulation. So, to address this, we have grown these cells after they receive the electrical stimulation for different time point in culture, and we have seen that they show kind of a standard linear increase in the MDT optical density values, essentially showing that mitochondrially active cells or cell viability is essentially increases with increases time point in culture. So, there is no alteration in their growth pattern because of this electrical field stimulation work, and this is published in JBMRB in 2011. Okay. Now, one of the things that is again a kind of a from biomedical point of view again quite important to be addressed is the in vivo toxicity. Now, to show this in vivo toxicity of this hydroxy barium titanate, we have not only done in vitro studies, but also we have done in vivo mouse model study. So, what we have done, we have taken this hydroxy barium titanate pellets. Now, this is your sparse pellets. We have done some mechanical crushing and grinding and in a very tailored manner using ball milling and so on. Then we get these small particles, nanoparticulates, like, and these particulates is less than 100 nanometer in size. Then we disperse them in phosphate buffer saline solution like PBS solution, and after that we have injected in the intra-articular region of the mouse model. And this is the scheme of the things that I have shown, that first is this hydroxy barium titanate pellet, and then from that you get these finer particles, crushed pellets, and then after that you micron size ceramic particulates, you filter it using this 0.22 micron filter, and so that you get a very fine particles which are dispersed in the solution, and then you can grow the cells or you can inject them into the animal model. So, this is exactly what I was saying, that you first grow them grow the cells, mammalian cells treated with particle eluates, or you can do this in vivo toxicity assessment by intra-articular injection, and then after intra-articular injection you can do serum biochemical assays, histological staining of the vital organs, and pro-inflammatory cytokine assays. Now, in this particular case we have used 3 different kind of a eluate concentration. They are like 0.25 milligram per milliliter, 2.5 milligram per milliliter, 25 milligram per milliliter, essentially showing that 1 orders of magnitude higher and higher concentration of these eluates and then injected. First is the cell viability. This is the in vitro study. So, we have taken that osteogenic cells, and then we have grown, particularly this is I think C2C C12 myoblast cells from the murine type. So, from the mouse myoblast cells, then we have grown them, and when the particles are suspended, hydroxy barium titanate particles are suspended in the culture medium, and what we have seen that they do not show any observable toxicity or reduction in the cell viability in these kind of materials. Now, when these materials are injected into the mouse model, and this is just showing that veterinary surgeon is giving this intra-articular injection in the mouse, and this is the particles that we have done TEM. So, essentially all the particles is less than 100 nanometer. Then we have taken each day after the post injection post exposure period, each day we have taken the weight systematically, just to show that weight does not decrease or the animals actually maintain their standard health conditions. After that we have taken the vital organs from each of this animal model, and then we have done the thin sections of the vital organs like heart, liver, lung and kidney and also spleen. So, in all these histology sections, if you see, they show a normal tissue architecture, and then suddenly this particular case it shows a normal appearance of the cardiac muscles, and we did not see any, you can clearly see blood vessels and striated cardiac muscles and so on, but we did not see that particles are distributed and causing any inflammation. The same is true for lung sections. So, what we have compared the control, like which did not receive any hydroxy barium titanate particulates, and which received that hydroxy barium titanate particulates, and then for that comparison I am showing you the largest amount of hydroxy barium titanate which is received like 25 milligram per milliliter. So, in all these things, if you see that it shows that normal appearance of broncholi and alveoli in these histology thin sections. The same is true for liver. So, there is no abnormal histological features or irregular histological features or inflammation which one can immediately notice. In the spleen sections also similar things. Now, when it comes to the knee joint sections, where these hydroxy titanium barium titanate particulates are injected, I have put some arrow here, and what this arrow essentially indicate, this indicates the accumulation of the hydroxide barium titanate particulates, and these are like distributed in large region, and these barium titanate particulates are distributed particularly along the particular region. But it does not show very altered cell morphological features in these particular tissue sections, but certainly it shows that these particulates are not uniformly biodistributed in different organs. Instead, they are accumulated in the knee joint sections. Now, in terms of the pro-inflammatory cytokines expression, we have done for the TNF alpha as well as that IL-1 beta expression, and again we did not see any elevate concentration dependent, any statistically significant difference in terms of that pro-inflammatory cytokine expression. So, this work is published in Journal of Materials and Materials in Medicine journal. So, in summary, so barium titanate addition in hydroxyapatite moderately enhances the electrical properties, that is a dielectric constant, purity strain coefficient, as well as the conductivity property, and to moderate extent it increases the reliable fracture toughness properties like 0.86 or 0.9 MPa square root meter. And these bone like electrical properties were particularly obtained in case of the hydroxide 40% barium titanate composite, and these nanoparticles did not elicit any systemic toxicity in the mouse model, and therefore, these materials can be potentially used as orthopedic implant applications. So, what we need to do is that we need to see that how barium titanate materials, which is electrically conductive, they can be implanted in the mouse model and in the particular bone model, and then we can see, we can give certain electrical stimulation, and we can see that whether this barium titanate materials, barium titanate containing materials can induce very early osseointegration. Early osseointegration means normal bone healing process takes place in a human being is certainly around 10 to 12 weeks. So, whether we can shorten this bone healing time to 3 to 4 weeks using these electroconductive materials. So, those study and experiments related preclinical trials are currently underway in our laboratory at Indian Institute of Science, and certainly all these studies will point towards the fact that relevance of the electrically conductive materials together with electrical stimulation indeed is helpful for the early bone or early osseointegration in animal model. And finally, these materials are biomedically safe, and that is very clear, and then this does not show any toxicity in the animal model experiments, but certainly some long term animal model experiments is necessary, and that can be conducted in the rabbit model. Thank you.